Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Licks and Tricks episode number 7, and today we're gonna talk about the latest single, which is called AI Lover. So expect some 80s rock and roll. But before we have a deeper look at the guitar parts of AI Lover, just a quick reminder, if you like the content and if you want to support us, please, subscribe to the channel, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to get notified, hit the bell and you get all the latest news on upcoming videos. Okay, thank you so much, and now let's start. So as usual, I give you first of all a little quick insight into the gear I used for this track. So this time I used this PRS Custom 24, which is a model from 2016, which is basically stock except for the pickups, which are, as you probably know by now, the pickups I designed together with Kloppon, and which are the Saint and the Sinner, which I can highly recommend. Yeah, that's it. PRS Custom 24. And of course, besides the guitar, my amplifier of choice is, as usual, the Laney Ironheart IRT Studio, which I use for all recordings. And the guitar goes direct into the amp. That's what you hear. Okay, so now let's move on to the guitar parts of AI Lover. First, let's talk about the tuning, which in this case is super simple because it's, standard tuning. I guess it's the first song that we did here on Licks and Tricks, which actually features standard tuning. So here we are. So, A440, that's the tuning for AI Lover. Okay, so the song is in the key of G, to be precise, G minor, and the riff, which starts the song after we have some drum groove, which is production-wise very 80s, with lots of reverb and stuff like this. And when the guitar kicks in, that riff is basically going most of the time in the song. It's starting the song. It's also in a little different version in the verse. So, very straight ahead, classic melodic heavy rock, I would say. So the riff goes something like this. The chords are basically, of course, the main chord is the G. We also have a F power chord, and also we have a C power chord. The way I play the G and the F power chord, it's maybe not so typical for some of you guys, because I play it like this. Okay, so it's like a double power chord, and the way I fret it is with my thumb on the low E string, fretting the G, and then I have the fifth, the G again, the fifth, the G again. So it's like a double power chord, I could say. Same thing I do for F. Okay, so but riff goes something like this. And on like this, So as you see, it's basically on the G. I play these notes from the pentatonic scale, which are C and B flat, F power chord, sometimes a C power chord, and to build up like the heaviness of the riff. After the first turn, it changes from the single notes. It changes to partial power chords or double stops, you could say. Something like this. So then it's like a C to a B flat. Yeah. So this is basically the riff. The way it's played in the verse is like different variations, but it's all based around this kind of theme. Something like this, and the way it's meant to be played is with a kind of like improvised vibe, so the little licks you do inside the riff can always be a little different, as you saw. Sometimes I play like a bending, which all stays in the G minor pentatonic. Sometimes I do this little lick with single notes or with the partial power chords. So yeah, there you have it. This is basically the main riff of the song. Next up we have the intro solo, and the intro solo happens over the main riff, which continues, and the lead guitar kicks in, to build up some tension before the vocals start in the verse. Tonality-wise, I stay very much with, what also the riff does. So it's G minor pentatonic mainly. And, these kind of licks in that context just work the best. Of course, it's nothing new, but, the kind of music we do is based on all the inspirations from the late 70s, 80s, so early 90s. So and my favorite guitar players played these kind of licks and they inspired me. So obviously you come up with kind of same versions of your own versions of these kind of licks. Okay, so we start off with targeting the G, the root note, by bending F, which is the 6th fret here on the B string, up a whole step. Giving the G a strong vibrato, and then playing some pentatonic blues lick after the bend. Which all stays in G minor pentatonic, adding the blue note here, which is like the C sharp, 6th fret on the G string. But it's a 3rd fret, E string, 6 on the B string, pull off to 3 on the B string, 5 on the G string, back to 3 on the B string, then the blue note, 6, 5, and 3 with pull-offs, then 5 on the D string, 5 on the G, 5 on the D, and ending on the minor 3rd, which is the B flat here on the G string. So both parts together. Okay, so that's the first lick. Then we go go up basically one position in the pentatonic, which into to the second box position, in this case of the G minor pentatonic. And adding these, seventh arpeggios here, which are G minor 7 and B flat major 7. Okay, and then ending with a cliche blues bed. So the actual notes are, I slide into the 6th fret here on the G string, then 7 on the B, 8 on the B, sorry, 6, 8, and then I play the G minor 7 arpeggio, which is 10, 6, 8, 6, 10, 6 on the E, 8, 6 on the B. Okay, so the notes are obviously D, B flat, G, and F. So all the notes that make up for a G minor 7 arpeggio. And then I go to basically the relative major chord, which is the B flat major 7. The notes being F, D, B flat, and A. And both positions I play basically 2 times. Something like this. And then ending here with this bluesy bend, going from a C to a D on the B string. Then playing F on the E string with my pinky, bending again. And there you can basically have both notes sounding together, which sounds kind of cool. To make it a little scream, And repeat the bending here and play 11 and 13 again on the B string. So slowly all together is like this. And always make sure to have a strong vibrato and play with expression, So this is very important, actually, for this style of music. Okay. No need for a touch, no need for a kiss. I'll give you all the love you might have missed. Just call me up, I'll be your guide. Eating wines and heroes, I'll stand by your side. I'm here to serve, to make you smile, for all your needs. Next thing we're going to talk about is the chorus riff. After the intro solo, the verse starts, and as I mentioned before, the verse basically has the same riff as the main riff, just little variations. Maybe played a little less intense than in the beginning and stuff like this, but it's basically the same kind of thing, the same vibe. The chorus has a very hooky chord progression, which suits to this type of song. And the basic chords we have are G, E flat, B flat, F. Okay, so but rather than just playing, let's say, like basic power chords, okay, I do some little things to make it a little bit more interesting, and make it more my personal style. So for G, I do this little thing. I go to the minor third. You see, so I play the full G power chord. Then I slide into the minor third, play partial power chord of the G back to the minor third, and then go to the E flat power chord. And instead of just playing an E flat power chord, I bar with my first finger here. So I have it's basically an E flat sus2, you could say, or E flat 9, I guess. So these kind of these notes give it like a nice texture. Okay, so it's a G to E flat is. Okay, so then we have a B flat power chord. So same principle as with the G chord. I slide in this case to the major third, and then play the partial B flat chord here. And this brings us to the F power chord. And on F I play, so I play some palm muted notes here, and also I add the F and the C note from the power chord one octave higher by barring also the finger here. Okay, so all together we have this. Okay, so second time around is basically the same chords, just on the F chord I play some single note, muted single note line, like okay, which are just notes from G minor pentatonic, F, G, and B flat. So the second round of the chorus is then something like this. Okay. And at the very end of the chorus, we go straight to the E flat chord. And to F, so it's just that the ending is different. Okay, so. Okay, here again on the E flat power chord, I do my same motif I did on the B flat power chord, which is sliding up to the major third and playing the partial chord afterwards. Of course, with this type of little riff, you can variate what you do. Could play it like this, or there are many different possibilities what you can do here. But yeah, that's the chorus, and it's the same basically all the song. Just for the very ending, I play the chords very straight. I play it. Like more like a punk kind of vibe. Yeah, just to, give it more basic aggression. But yeah, that's it. So that's the chorus of AI Lover.
From the quiet of the night to the break of dawn, I'll be your baby, you can count on. No need to search, no need to roam. With me you'll never be
alone. Right before the main solo, we have like a little interlude riff, which changes up the chords a little bit, but it's basically the same chords in a different order. The interlude part starts on the E flat, then goes to F, goes to G, goes to B flat, again starts on E flat, goes to F, and ends on C. Okay, and the rhythm is, as you saw, it's just a mixture between muted bass notes and the open chord, and sometimes I play some 16th notes, And then you go back to the main riff, and over the main riff, the main solo comes in. Okay, that's it. All right, so it's time for the main solo, and I'm gonna break this down in little segments for you. The first part starts on the first box position here, around the 3rd fret of the G minor pentatonic, and I do this thing. Which is basically, all notes from the G minor pentatonic. The one thing, which you maybe should pay attention to is I play, with the pick and my middle finger here. Okay, so it gives it a more twangy sound. I bend the C up to D, fret with my pinky the F note here on the B string, and let both notes ring together, and then while releasing the bend I pluck with my pick and my finger, giving this kind of weird screaming twangy kind of sound. Okay. And then we have this open string lick, which in this case obviously works very well with the open G string, and the notes I play upwards are just from the G minor pentatonic. So it's 3, 5, 7, 5, 7, 10, 7, 10, 12, 15, 17, 15, and ending on the G, which is the 17th fret here on the D string. And this brings us basically, to the same position, but 1 octave higher. So altogether something like this. Okay, so this is the first lick. That was the first lick. So now we moved up one octave. So we are now in this position here. And again, we target the root note, which is the G, by bending F to G. Then fretting the G on the high E string, 15th fret. Playing on the B string, F and D. Then play 17th fret, which is a C on the G string, bending it up a whole step. And then playing on the B string 15, which is a D, 15 on the G string, which is a B flat again, and ending on the G, again the root note, which is 17th fret on the string. Okay, so even if these kind of licks are very simple, you know, make sure that every note counts, you know. Okay. And then we go here, adding one more note, which is A on the 17th fret, which makes then, you know, so-called hexatonic scale. So if you add the ninth or degree to a scale, so in this case in G would be the note A, then you have a so-called hexatonic would be. Okay, which is commonly used in you know, rock and blues. Okay, so for the next lick, I add this note A here. It's like a little build-up with these notes, which are F, G, and A. And then I do this, you know, one of my licks I always do. Just, you know, which is like a repeating lick, but with an alternating highest note. You know, so you have B flat, then you have C, then you have B flat again, then you have the A again. So it's. And then I go just down the G minor pentatonic. So this is when you put it all together. Make sure to, you know, because these are more fast licks and they involve some accurate picking, otherwise they sound not good. So practice them slowly first, you know, with less gain, you know, and you know, and there are many variations you can do. You know, you can double up some notes, you can change the order of the notes and make them your own licks, you know. But for this solo I played like this. Okay. Next up we have this very catchy, you know, thematic lick, which also gets harmonized, but it's very simple. It goes. You know, ending with a typical screaming bluesy band. But the thing is, you know, it's. You know, all notes from G minor pentatonic and staying here in the, which is basically the fourth box position of G minor pentatonic. And, you know, pay attention, I do some pinch harmonic here. And as I said, it's harmonized, you know, the other guitar plays just something like this, you know, so just a third above. But to play the third above, actually, I add again A Okay, so it's like that's what the main guitar plays, and the harmonies. And that's what the other guitar plays. But it's very simple, but also very. It's like a hook line within the solo, And sometimes you gotta have these kind of parts. People just remember, because it's always important that they can remember a solo for a great melody or some hook line or some. Sometimes it's maybe for a crazy lick or the way it's phrased, but it gotta have something, not just randomly played notes, but have as you see, the solo also has separate parts that in the end fit together. But playing wise, I guess this is super basic stuff. Okay. So, and then we have the final lick of the main solo. Okay, so after this little hooky harmonized lick, I do one more faster thing, which is just a variation of the thing I did before in a different position. If you remember this lick here. Okay, now this time I moved my hand obviously here in this position of the fourth, and if you add this note here, then it's also incorporating the fifth box of the G minor pentatonic. And this time I start on the highest note, like. Okay, and I add one more note. This time it's not A, this time it's E, which is the sixth. So, adding an E instead of an E flat gives it a Dorian sound. So the notes are G, D, C, B flat, C, D, and then alternating the highest note to F, and then to E, back to F, and then bending F to G. And the second time I bend, I grab also the B string to give it this Gary Moore kind of screaming thing. And make sure to have the right facial expression. Okay, so that's the main solo. Well, and then there's one more thing, which is a little outro solo, and it stays, basically where we left off, here in the first box position of the G minor pentatonic. Again, now an octave higher, with this, kind of very aggressive bending plus picking lick. Which I also do very often. It's again targeting the root note, which is G, obviously, bending F to a G, and then playing three notes very fast picked. I can repeat this obviously more often if you want. There's obviously a different version of this lick where you do a pull off from the F to D. Which sounds also very cool, but to pick every note here, it gives it more, a more aggressive vibe. And after I repeated this, I do a bending from B flat to C and release the bending. Okay, and then I just go down the G minor pentatonic, adding also the blue note. And there I do a thing which sometimes, gives it a little different flavor. First, I start basically the traditional way, but then on the B string, instead of going back to the E string, I play the note G on the B string by making a 3-note per string pattern. Just sounds a little different than if you could also play. It's maybe a little bit more smooth. Why I did this, don't ask me. I just played it like this. As mentioned also in previous episodes, most of what I play in solos is improvised. So, and then if I have something that I like, I keep it. And I just played it like this. So it's then blue note, which is C sharp, C, C sharp, B flat. Sorry, wrong. C sharp D, C sharp C, B flat, and then G, C, G, B flat. So it's and then it's just this very, very classic double stop on G and B string, 15th fret. Again, targeting the root note here, and then playing, along with the accents of the drums and the rhythm guitar, which is F, D, B flat, and G. F, D. Sorry, F, G, B flat, and G. Too much D and G. So, like this, all together. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so these are all the main guitar parts of AI Lover, and well, hope you can learn some of these licks and incorporate some of these ideas into your playing. Have fun. Well, that's it. So this was episode number 7 of Licks and Tricks, talking about AI Lover, our 80s style heavy rock track in G minor. And if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of this kind of content, then please subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate this, and thanks again so much for watching. Means a lot to us, and you guys take care, have fun playing your guitar, incorporating some of these licks into your playing if you want to. And if you have questions, feel free to contact me anytime in the comments or by email. And let's see you guys next time. Okay, stay rock and roll. Bye.